Today we're doing a rather unusual video on my channel, and this is nothing DaVinci Resolve related whatsoever. So if you aren't interested in that, you can click away and that is completely fine. But for the rest who stays, today we're talking about some tips, tricks and some tools to help you capture more cinematic images. First of all, you don't have to have the latest and greatest camera. All of those tips will apply to your phone camera as well. So the first tip that I got for you is to avoid filming in harsh lighting conditions such as midday outside, because when the sun is up high, there are almost no shadows left, and if there are any shadows left, they are usually pretty harsh. So instead of filming outside midday, try to film early in the morning or later in the evening when the sun is about to set, or in the morning when the sun is about to rise, because then the shadows are usually pretty long, which will end up in a more flattering image and a nicer highlight to shadow roll off. So tip number 2 is to play around with the foreground in your image. Instead of just having a plain frame, try to put something in front of your lens and the result will just be a more interesting image. You can see this technique being used by me right now because I have this plant right here and I have my laptop right here. So I have more three-dimensional space being the foreground and then me in the middle and then my background. This would just look way better than completely with this way and then my laptop like being shut. You can see how much of a difference only those two items do make to the whole image. So try to play around with the foreground. If you're filming outside, try to use some grass or some leaves in the foreground to make your shot a whole lot more interesting. So tip number 3 is to film short or film the shadow side. And what do I mean by that is right now I'm being lit from up here. And if I were to film short or film the shadow side, I would put my camera a little more towards this side right here, so that the shadow side of my face is closer to the camera than the bright side of my face. And this is a technique that's been used by the top cinematographers in the world, and this will just end up in a more flattering image with a whole lot more depth. Think about a makeup tutorial where the light source is like right in front of you. There are no shadows left and it's just not looking very pleasing. So try to always film the short side or the shadow side. So tip number 4 is to film the silhouette look, and the silhouette look is super easy. All you gotta do is just expose for the background and have your subject in the foreground being underexposed, which will end up in a very interesting frame. So tip number 5 is to change camera angles and camera positions. Think about having your camera always pointing at chest height will just be boring after a while. So try to switch that up and try to put your camera a little closer to the ground pointing up or a little higher pointing down. So this will just mix things up a little bit and make everything a lot more interesting. Tip number 6, and also the last tip that I got for you, is to shoot for coverage. And what I mean by shooting for coverage is just on every scene, try to get a close-up shot, a medium shot, and a wide shot from different camera angles. Doing this, you will have more flexibility in post and everything will just look a little bit better and everything flows a little bit better. So that's it for the tips. Now let's go over to some of the tools that I would recommend you to get in order to capture more cinematic footage. And the first one being obviously get an ND filter. ND filters are great if you want to lower the exposure of your camera without having to touch any of the camera settings like ISO, f-stop or shutter speed. So the second thing that I would recommend you is to get a pro mist filter or a black mist filter, because those will just take the highlights in your shot and bloom them and make everything look super dreamy. It has a super cool and unique effect, but I wouldn't recommend using it on every shot. And the black or pro mist filter that I would recommend you is the one from KNF Concept, this one right here. First of all, it comes in a very nice leather case with a magnetic closing mechanism, which is always great, so your filter is protected the whole time. Secondly, you see this orange band right here, so you don't have to go in with your fingers to pull it out. You can just use this orange band and just pull, so you have your filter always protected and don't have like those fingerprints on your glass, which just could ruin your shot. But then there's even more to this filter. It's not just a black mist. This is a variable ND filter combined with a black pro mist filter. So you have the ND filter and the pro mist filter combined into one thing. And the good thing about that is it has hard stops. So if you've already worked with an ND filter or variable ND filter, if you turn that too far, you will have like black crosses in the middle of your shot, which just ruins the shot. And this cannot happen if you're using something like this. You can see that I cannot turn it in this direction. I can only turn it in this direction until now. And then it has a hard stop. So it just prevents you from getting that X in your shot, and it just makes the shot look super good. Another thing that I want to mention is that KNF Concept is running a huge sale on Amazon Prime Day, which is July 12th and 13th. So in just a couple of days after this video goes live, you will have the chance to buy one of those filters for up to 70% on discount. We'll leave a link to that in the description down below, and it's not an affiliate link, so whenever you buy something via this link, I will not get any money from it at all. And the last item that I want to mention is to get a top handle. I've neglected the fact that a top handle is useful for so long, but it is actually super useful. First of all, if you hold your camera like this, it is very stable because like gravity does the work for you, it just gets pulled down. But it also comes in handy if you want to get like a shot closer to the ground without having to be crouched in this position. You can just like get a top handle and hold your camera down and point it up. This will just help you to get different camera angles, and top handles aren't that expensive. You can get a great top handle for only $25. So that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Hope you're having a great day. See you next time. Bye.